Okay, so if you see what we are planning for merge on Gnokey mobile, uh, you see that now we have a kind of a protocol to communicate with the Gnokey. We have two ways. One, to ask for a login. We can just base pass this URL to a mobile app, passing the callback or some parameters, and then Gnokey will call your app back, passing the keys. Is this we probably demo it in the previous meeting, but now we have a kind of protocol established, and that's what we want to share also. For signing a transaction, we just figure out the parameters here that we need to communicate both apps, and also the apps can oops, that's it. Both the apps can be the social and Gnokey can be closed, and they are handling those URLs from every place on the app. So basically, if you are navigating inside Gnokey, or if your Gnokey is closed and you receive a request from the social or from any other app, you will be able to handle the communication. So it's imagine like a global handler communication process for Gnokey. Also, a more stricter way to communicate back with the apps. What's next? We are planning to improve the UI as we discussed last meeting. Just waiting for some mock-ups and start implementing it on the social on the Gnokey. The social will remains as ugly as it is, but for Gnokey we want to make it beautiful. Constant, to want to add more?
No, it was just this to basically let you know that we are kind of polishing the backend and the API, the way Gnokey Mobile interacts with the social. But for this to happen, so because we want to prove it, we also need to implement to adapt modifications in the social, so which is the testing app that we use to demonstrate this thing. So it's kind of like double work in a way. So yeah, we're advancing with the backend, and I'm quite convinced that in the next weeks, we're going to have also advancements on UI and UX with the help of Alexi. This is it as demo and as main progress from our side, guys. Of course, if you have questions, no problem.
I do have one quick question that's kind of off topic. So all the social avatars were the Gravatar ones, globally recognizable avatars. Do you plan to use this in production, or is this just a placeholder?
It's a placeholder. We made it. We are able to change the avatar on the social. So we are basically storing the image on the blockchain. So that we don't like it, but was the quickest and easiest thing was to do. So yeah.
All right, not a big deal. I just know that. Sorry, just want to say that Gravatar actually tracks the usage, like where it's being called from. So that might pose some minor concern down the road.
So the social is requiring permits to upload a new avatar. You approve on Gnokey, and then you get a new image. But it's a good point. I will remove that Gravatar because probably copywriting will not be okay. So I will put something else there for the heads up.
All right, thanks. The Gravatar owners are a bit combative these days. They're going after anybody that encroaches their trademark.
Yeah, true. Thank you.
All right. If there are no more questions, we can switch to OnBlock. They've got the GnoSwap demo first, and then Adena 113.
Hi, let me share my screen. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we've just finished developing the Launchpad feature for GnoSwap. So this is the main page for the Launchpad feature in GnoSwap. It's for GRC20 project. So yeah, this is the main, and you can see active projects here and all the projects here. So if you click one of these, you can see the available pools that you can participate. So how it works is that you can participate in a Launchpad by locking your GNS, the GnoSwap token, in any of these pools. So yeah, and as you can see, there are 3 pools now, and each pool offers different lockup period with different APRs. So the longer your lockup period is, the higher APR you'd get. So for example, if you lock up your GNS in pool 1, your GNS will be locked for 6 months, and you'll get the project's token for 6 months in return. And after the 6 month is completed, you'll get your GNS tokens back in full. Yeah, so we can try to deploy one of the projects here. Yep. We can try with our Quarks token. So this is for approving the tokens, project's tokens, and this is the supply, and yeah, these are the ratio for these pools. So yeah, we need to timestamp here. Yeah, as you can see here, the project is up, but I think I set the timestamp wrong here. Let me try one more time. Yeah. So the project is up here, and it's gonna start soon. So what I did was I deployed this project with our admin address. For now, it's only admin can only access deploying a project in the future for now. Let's wait a little bit. Yeah, so it's active now, and let's participate. So I'm participating with 1,000 GNS for 6 months, and I'll get this COX token in return for 6 months. Yeah, as you can see here, I'm the only participant for now, and 1,000 GNS is locked. And the distribution is gonna start after 14 days for now, but it's now set as 14 minutes, I think. Yeah, this is pretty much it for the feature.
Thank you, Dongwon. Any questions on the Launchpad? All right, I guess we can move over to the Adena update.
I don't have demo for Adena. It's just an update that we are working on the next version of Adena, which is version 1.13.0. And yeah, these are the features that will be added on the next version. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. In that case, we're moving over to discussions. I'm gonna share pretty much the same thing that you did. All right. Territory. Who wants to take the mic?
This will be me. I hope you hear me correctly.
Yes.
Okay. I'm working on the package loader, which is, maybe I should share screen to show things. Well, okay. Currently, I'm working on the package loader for Gno, which is a unified way to access packages, even remote ones. This was asked by Morgan, also Guilhem. And since I worked on a variation of this for Gno PLS, the new Gno PLS based on Go PLS, they asked me to do it. And I have a problem with that. So this allows this kind of behavior, like this is a Gno list, but with Gno test or Gno run or anything that needs needs external dependencies, or to resolve a dependency in a monorepo also. This is useful. And my current problem is that I don't know how to resolve packages in a monorepo, how to correctly handle relation between packages. We are discussing this, and currently in the current behavior in Gno, in the Gno monorepo, is to have some kind of implicit resolution. This means that when you're in the root and you do Gno test, something like that, Gno test ... it will, if you do this in Go, for example, in something that is not a Go module. So let's go there, and I do that. Obviously, it will say something about I'm not in a module. Where for Gno, it says there's no package to test, but if there were packages, it would recursively find packages, which I call implicit flow. So this is like it creates a fake gno.work file here. It's kind of this behavior, since it also handles sub gno mods, where in Go, if you have sub gno mods, it will just ignore them. If you have a root gno mod and sub gno mods, it will ignore them when you do recursive commands. So it's kind of like there is like a root workspace that is created when you run the Gno test like this. And so this, I think this is not a good behavior. I think we should align on the Go behavior, because this means that if you CD into, for example, let's look in the territory monorepo. If I CD in some Gno package where there is a Gno mod, and I run command in this, like Gno test or something, it will try to, if I follow the current behavior, there is no way to really know what is the root of the current project and to resolve relative packages. I don't know where to find the other packages in this monorepo. So I will have to pull them from portal loop. Like the behavior would be to pull them from portal loop. So there is alternatives, is to put replace directives in all the Gno mods in the monorepo. Sorry, someone want to?
Please finish. I'm just queuing up for after you finish.
Sorry?
Please go ahead and finish.
Yeah, maybe I'm too slow. Tell me if because I'm trying to explain the whole problem, but and the alternatives I have, but maybe it's taking too much time. Should I continue or?
No, please finish explaining, and I have a reply, but I'll finish and do it a later.
Okay, so another alternative is to put replace directives, but in this case, this means that for almost, for example, in the Gno monorepo, for all packages, you will have to put instead of the require, you will have to put a replace directive. If you move a package, then you have to update all replace directives. Like this is a big pain to manage. I think is not a good idea. Another solution is to have a root Gno mod, but this constrains the hierarchy. So, for example, in the Gno monorepo, this works perfectly because you have the examples Gno.land. If I put a Gno mod here, that is a module Gno.land, it works because the hierarchy is preserved. But for example, in the territory monorepo, the package are Gno.land /territory/r, things like that. We would have to modify our hierarchy, and even for simpler, let's imagine a monorepo that just have one realm and one package. You would have to like still create like the Gno.land dir or have /r/ your namespace / the packages. Like it constrains the hierarchy, and I'm not sure it's a good idea. And for me, the best idea, the last, is to support workspace file properly. So you add at the root of your monorepo a Gno work file. So this would be like this command that creates a Go work file, but for Gno, and then you use subdirectories. So, for example, packages, DRO, and then this updates my workspace. And so this allows to also not. Oh, I felt something, but I think we should use this kind of commands because also that restricts all the paths you have to look for. For example, we have a lot of node modules here. If we don't specify where to find the Go module, we have to look to all these directories. So it can be fast if it's done properly, but it is still something that will slow down the process. If we instead, if we explicitly say our modules are there, it's better, I think. And this is the way Go does it. I spent a lot of time like looking through Go codes and trying to understand why they do things, and this is, I think this is the best ways to support workspaces for monorepos with multiple modules. Either that or constrain the do a single GNOMod, but then you're constrained on the hierarchy, like in the GNO monorepo. And that's it for me. Sorry for the the big monologue.
No worries, and thank you for the presentation. I'll present as well, just because I have a few thoughts to share on this and some code to share as well. So my problem with the sort of co-workspaces is that I sort of think that, you know, if we start off with the, you know, the point of this issue was to also kind of say, right now, GNOMod is overly complex for what we actually needed to do. We just need a few things. And so if we're still, you know, trying to match as much as possible Ghost behavior and essentially stacking GNOMod and then stacking GNOwork on top of that, to me, it's like, you know, I get why this had to be done for Go, where there's already like very, very complex and big set of repositories. But I think we need like a simple solution that can work for us for, you know, very, very simple cases, which we already have. You mentioned the territory repositories, but I think, you know, GNOChess is another example of a flow that I like to support, and which I mentioned here before, where we have a realm GNOMod and a package GNOMod. I think, you know, in the context of GNOChess, this should be everything that we need. And in a kind of way, this would deviate from what you were saying about from the Go behavior. Essentially, I just commented 5 minutes ago when we were starting off this call with you know, what I think we want ideally. So that if you would take, like, say, the GNOChess repository, right now there is a bunch of GNOMods, but let's say that we only have the objective is to eventually only have 2. So you have a realm directory with the GNOMod, module Gnoland RD-mochess, and our place on PD-mochess, and which points to the package directory above. And then you have a package directory with the Gnoland PD-mochess. The consequence of that is that if you run that, you can run GNO test ... from the root of the repository, and all of these packages are tested, right? All these directories. These are the import paths they are executed in, and this is the GNOMod they take as a reference. So they actually, you know, in a single GNO test comment, you may be sort of using multiple GNOMods, but I don't think that is a major problem. That is something, you know, which deviates from what Go does, but I think we're doing it for a good reason. The only other way that I see this working while we actually use the same behavior as Go is doing is not by implementing GNOwork, but it's actually by changing how we do input paths. So that instead of being Gnoland R demo and Gnoland P demo, we will need to have Gnoland demo R and Gnoland demo P, or some other way to sort of make the hierarchy like you have the project and then you have the realm and package, so that you can support this workflow without using these. This is something which I'm still open to considering, but it's, you know, a tough decision and maybe not one we should take here. Yeah, the other thing you mentioned is the module root of examples of GNOMod. I think, you know, that makes sense for the GNOME repository, yeah. So I would say that for the monorepo, and for other places, we should use something like this.
Manfred?
I think Omar is first, no?
Okay, Omar, go for it.
I already asked my question. It is about what will happen if we put it in the GNOMod when we use a external lib. For example, we went to use a lib built by territory or something like that in our
then it should be fetched from the portal loop. Or under the chain if it has a different import path, like test4.Gno.land /something.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So yeah, right now GnoMod is not used. It's not helping on what it should, and it's giving so many features that we don't need. The only features we need from GnoMod is the replace directive. And the replace directive should not be about supporting networks. It should be about supporting local forks where you want, I don't know, to add some debugging or whatever. The thing is that we need to improve GnoMod, but the other thing is that right now we have a single domain, even if we have several chains. If you run a local net, it's named Gnoland. If you run testnet for, it will be the domain will still be Gnoland. In the future, you can expect to have Gnoland to be both a domain and a specific chain. So when you have Gnoland /p/something, the identifier, the URL is either identifier, and it's explicitly pointing to a specific chain, a specific code at a specific version, and everyone in the world basically consider that this is the only good version. If locally you want to replace it with a patched version because you want to have some printf debugging, it's up to you, but you cannot enforce anyone else to use it. GnoMod is only for local development. It's not understood by the chain. It's actually skipped by the chain. GnoMod doesn't make sense on the chain. So the day we have the domains, so we are in the future, GnoMod is improved, and we have multiple domain supports, you can expect that if your dependency on territory module, one chance is that it's already published on Gnoland or territory land or whatever land, and basically you can use a fetch module no man was speaking about or something. So basically you import something that you don't have locally on your computer. Thanks to the domain, you know the RPC port. We can use, for instance, r/zones, a new realm to centralize all the official chains and making a relationship between a domain name and an RPC port, etc. So basically, you depend on, let's say, territory.land/p/DAO. You don't have it locally. You know that you should connect to this specific RPC thanks to the domain and fetch the missing dependency. If you depend on something by territory which is not yet published on the chain, the goal is not to make GnoMod overly complex and supporting both Sans and Git. Here, basically, play with Git submodules and use a local replace directive or do whatever you want. But the goal is to prevent this. The goal is to let territory work for 6 weeks straight on a single repo until they make a perfect library. Then they should publish it. We should avoid just saying that everyone is working on their neighbor's unfinished library and playing with Git. We can do it, but definitely it will just create confusion. So wait for the future with domain names, where a URL is always explicit, always giving the same code, or verified by the chain. So the checksum and everything are built in. We have very good security, very good uniqueness, very good explicitness, very good simplicity. Then you just remember you still have the replace directive, which is definitely for local development and to basically download something locally, patch it, and run your own version, but you won't be able to publish it or just under a different URL. The second point about GnoMod is optional. The second point is about naming the module. So what we were discussing about, for instance, this module is named this. So technically, if I want to use a tool that will publish it and publish recursively the folders or whatever, they can guess the module name from this file. This is optional. I think that's a good way of doing it. We can definitely encourage people of having module with the URL. In practice, we can also just expect people to sometimes specify the target module path, which is actually the case with Gnokey. Gnokey make_tx at pkg is taking the destination. It's not reading GnoMod, or maybe it does, but sorry if I'm not up to date on this. The other point is that we can also just have alternatives. For instance, if you look, Go was supporting vanity URLs. So just after your package name in the first line of your file, if you don't have comment, you can make // import and name it. And it was another way for Go tools to guess the module name. So just, as a reminder, GNOMod is required when you are working with patched local version or unpublished local versions, or basically working on complex things on the local repo. Definitely that's where GNOMod will be required and shine. In other cases, it's optional. Maybe we will encourage people to have an empty one with just a module name, and that's fine. Or we can also just expect people to specify the module name in the comment, or just not specify it at all and expect people to publish with a manual path when they publish the package. I think there is a question for.
Okay.
Hello, sorry. No, Jeff was asking something, but it didn't signal. If people think that there is a problem with all the PRs, they need to wait for Morgan's PR to be merged.
It's already merged. Just merge master.
So yeah, update your PRs with master, please.
Okay. And can
I answer, or you wanted to say something about this, Jeff?
No, if that's the answer, then that's the answer.
No, just I wanted to respond to Manfred, if it's possible.
Yeah, let's keep on track on the
you want
GNOMod
to
comments.
on something else?
Sorry, I got distracted.
Because the also it's really about it's not about a remote fetching. For this, I totally agree. We when we don't find the package locally, we fetch it from the remote tester or Gnoland. Or I agree totally on that. There's no debate for me on this. But it's really about on the monorepo how to resolve package.
I think that right now we should just use a GNO-root directive or something where either you are in the so that's what we have. We guess it because we are already in the repo. Maybe you can specify your environment variable to just say my GNO downloaded repository is located here. And basically this is an exception for now. At some point the exception won't be an exception anymore because we can expect everything to be on the future chain. But right now, basically there is a
it's not about external. It's not about external package, for example, of examples or stuff like that. It's really in a single monorepo. Actually, if you cd in directory, for example, like you said, you can have an optional, completely optional GNOMod. In this case, you have to make assumptions for multiple mods. So if you have a monorepo and you expect your packages to depend on each other, and then you also want this GNOMod to be optional, then if you cd
are you speaking about the main monorepo or your monorepo?
Multiple monorepo. The main monorepo, our monorepo.
So this is the place where GNOMod is not optional. This is the only place where GNOMod makes sense.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that if you have both modes of working, it poses some problems. For example, if you cd on the GNOME monorepo, if you cd in a subdirectory, which is I do it all the time when I work on Go. It is also a concern for onboarding Go engineers. Because it's something I do often. If you cd in a subdirectory, do something, you expect the GNO context to the root of the GNO context to not change. If you cd in a subpackage, execute some Go command, it still will resolve other packages. And if we do this implicit flow where GNOMod is not really defined, or you don't know where is the root of the project, you will have different behavior. If you cd in a subpackage, it will try to fetch dependencies that are in the monorepo from portal loop, for example, and stuff like that. So
I think the package loader should basically have 4 destinations and look in this exact order. 1, am I in a GNOMod file, and is there a replace directive for this explicit import? If yes, I just take it. I don't think about anything. Second priority is let's look at the GNO root directory. If I have a GNO git clone, I should consider that if the package exists here, it will in the future be the main version of this package. There is no replace directive. So basically, I anticipate the future where basically this step will disappear. Right now, it's not the case. So right now, we Second step is GNO root. It exists, I take it. It does not exist, I go to step 3. Step 3 is, okay, I am in a GNO mod, or as a subfolder or direct folder. Is this existing in my local path? So if it's existing, for instance, you can maybe have a single Gno.land module /r/territory if you just have realms, or you can also maybe just have a module Gno.land, I don't know, and then mimic the folder R, the folder P, the folder r/territory. So basically, you can resolve locally as a step 3 what you have, which is not yet in the example folder of the main repo, but locally present in your repo. And fourth step is it was not in any of this local file system, so I need to download it and cache it locally in a /gno.mod, for instance.
Do you think it's necessary to have the step of looking through GNO root if we can just fetch it from the chain anyway, like say
Right.
PD moivl?
Oh, I think it's necessary just because it's moving, just temporarily.
Yeah, just well, yeah, I think the solution to that is the -u, like have the -u flag to update the dependencies.
Yeah, but -u is also a temporary solution. So do we prefer temporarily to always look at the GNO root, or do we prefer to temporarily expect people to run -u?
Well, we would also need to expect people to have an updated GNO root at all times. So I would rather.
Yeah, I think we. Sorry.
I would prefer. I mean, also because I don't think we will have like Gnoland, like the Gnoland domain will be the portal loop, and it will keep on being the portal loop for a while. Then okay, after main launch, we will not change the context there, but I guess it does raise a question then, Fred. Once we release mainnet, do you see the chain domain for mainnet to be main.gno.land, or do you think it will be Gno.land? And if it's the second one, I think then the portal loop cannot live on Gno.land, right?
I think I'm still not sure because the two have good pros and cons, but right now I think Gnoland will be the mainnet, and we'll keep some portal loop more as like a front-end website that we still use for basically for us. But potentially Gno.land will be the mainnet. It will be the main domain we expect people to go, and it will be both the chain people use, but it will also be dynamic, and yeah, it's something we want people to understand. So I think it's a good target to have Gnoland to be the mainnet and to keep portal loop maybe as, I don't know, newtendermint.com, which is actually a portal loop. But let's say later, but yeah, I expect Gno.land /p/ something /avl to be the thing people will depend on, not to be main.gno.land /p/demo/avl.
Right. But yeah, coming back to the issue.
Yeah, coming back to the issue, basically, it's a temporary fix. The -u, if we can anticipate a single usage once everything will be stable and timeless, let's introduce the -u right now. If we don't anticipate any usage when everything is stabilized, we can still have -u and know that it's temporary, or we can basically keep an exception for the monorepo because it's just still changing. The two solutions are good for me. I prefer, to be honest, having an exception on Go root just because sometimes I update the monorepo because I'm working on something depending on it. So basically, it will break my. No, actually, that's false what I said because I could use the replace directive. I'm using an advanced usage. No, actually, I don't have an opinion. Just it's a temporary solution. I'm fine having -u and removing it later, or I'm fine just having an exception for the monorepo and expecting, as you said, people to git pull.
Yeah, I would prefer -u personally, just because I think it sort of creates flow within the repository where you can just update your dependencies on the portal loop directly, instead of having this magical ethereal GNO root which you have to update. But Norman, please.
Yes, the boot for me, and we can still print later when we disable.
I agree with Morgan, and I would use GNO mod clean cache, mod clean, GNO clean mod cache instead of -u for me, but it's the same.
Cache?
I agree. We should skip the implicit GNO root, looking through GNO root implicitly.
One other thing, Norman, because I think part of the question that you asked on the issue was related on an assumption. I think for how we parse paths in the comments like GNO test and GNO run, it should be actually, not just directly passing the path to the package loader. Because the package loader makes sense to live and understand the context of the GNO mod it's working on. And you just need that to like resolve the imports on the file system from like the package you're working on. But so like the loading should be scoped to the package and the GNO mod it's working on. Well, if you're sort of just trying to give to the GNO comment a list of paths to test and to run, I think that should actually deviate a bit from the GNO, the way the Go does it. The way that Go does it is actually it's not based on the file paths, on the directory structure, but it's based on the input paths. Well, instead, I think we should go for like just understanding their directory structure. This goes also like to make a division between when we understand and support using the / syntax, because this should be supported in relative imports. So we should not support relative imports in GNO, like in a GNO file, but we should support like doing GNO test dot or doing GNO test dot, and that understands all the directories beneath that one and test them with their related GNO mods rather than just using one GNO mod.
Sorry, I didn't fully understand what you're saying.
Okay, sorry. What didn't you understand? I'll try to reformulate.
You want to prevent using relative path in commands?
Not in comments, sure. within GNO, right? I think this is already the case. No, don't get me wrong, but we should not allow like using / something within like a literal import statement. This is something that you can actually do in Go, although it's heavily discouraged. But if there was any doubt about that, this is something that we should not support in Go.
Okay. I don't think the package loader does it currently.
Yeah.
But I will try to explicitly prevent it. Okay, I understand.
The other second thing I was doing is that though when we are passing paths in GNO test and GNO run, so on the command line, we should support relatives, right? We should support like // or /package /. And in that case, like we should understand the argument that is passed on the command line as being like a file path and not an import path. So in Go, they are always import paths, and in our case, it should be actually directory paths.
I'm not sure to understand what this changes.
This changes this changes like the requirement of using one GNO mod or being able to like have different packages which have different GNO mod. It's kind of what it was like. Let me screen share again. What I was showing down here, right? If we like if we were understanding GNO test / as an import, then it would be as you described, and it would have to use a single import, a single GNO mod essentially. If this were understood directly as an import path, because it would have to understand what dot is, right, in terms of import paths. But instead, if we understand it as a file path, it just understood that this is the current directory and this is all the directories recursively beneath this one. And that is to say package sobers, and so on. And so it does not stop at module boundaries like the Go comment does. I don't know where you put the example, but I think you showed it earlier. so that if you were to do this, it would say, well, one, the GNO mod doesn't exist, and two, I will not go beneath package and realm because there's a GNO mod here. What I'm saying is for GNO, instead we should go in there and we should do the tests and understand this as a file path. Is that clear now?
Yeah, yes. I understand that that's both what you and Manfred want. I will implement that, but I must warn you that it will probably be confusing for Go engineers, and it will also cause some problems when you have artifacts. Like for example, in a monorepo with an app, you have non-modules. You have it's a kind of corner case, but actually it happens to me already while developing and trying stuff around. If you have some GNO modules you don't want to include in your project, but that are here because there are artifacts of build or stuff like that, this will take it into account and it will cause problems. But if you want it this way, I can implement it this way. It makes sense, and I can do it.
I think we can just reuse the empty GNO.mod pattern, no? To skip some directories.
Yeah, but in this case, like if we don't stop at module boundaries, then the empty GNO mod wouldn't be useful.
Yeah, but I guess in this case you can you change your hierarchy.
I would have to see an
example. You have a more
what
complex hierarchy, and it's not that bad.
I would have to see an example to see what you mean with the artifacts. I'm not sure if I understand.
Well, for example, let's say you have a node module with an example GNO module bundled in it, or you have some project that you have to clone to build your project that has some GNO module in it. It will be included.
So you have an artifact. You have an artifact directory which has GNOME files, and you're saying that they would be tested as well. Is that what you're saying?
Let's say, for example, you have this awesome GNO tools that does some awesome thing you need, but the way you use it is to clone it, or you have to clone it in your local repo. And this has some test which has some folder with GNO mods. This test in this build artifact will be included by the ... It seems convoluted, but it already happened to me during testing. But
right.
We can avoid it. But it's just, I think it will be some confusing behavior for Go engineers. But we can. It's maybe not that bad. It's just I warn about this.
Yeah, I mean, I would say let's roll with this, and then I'll see the examples, and if it's how it shows up, and etc. And I think we can sort of figure out a solution from there. Because just there was a time when the Go mods weren't even a thing, and we still managed, right? So I think we'll find a way anyway.
I can go ahead now. I have enough information and a consensus, so I can go ahead. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for taking the time of all the people.
Not a problem. That's why this meeting exists. However, you're not off the hook yet. You also had a question about PR 3042.
Yes, this was me for this one. So I implemented verification to forbid package to import realm, but I was thinking because I passed some files, like parsing doesn't accept files that are not GNO files, like README, license, or anything, and empty files. And we were thinking with Norman if we should return an error here, or if the parsing should be done later, and so we just keep the files that doesn't match the parsing. Maybe I can share you the screen. It will be easier to explain. So the thing here is when I pass file package to verify if they import trims or not. For now, if I cannot pass them, I skip like the parsing and the verification of trim. And usually the files that return error on parsing is like not GNO files or empty GNO files. So with Norman, we were talking about if we should like return an error so it doesn't work, or just skip these files and the parsing is done later. Yeah, this is the question.
So empty GNO file shouldn't be allowed, but I think that's something that the parser will already reject, right? If you pass in an empty GNO file, it will like the minimal GNO file is one which has package and the package name, right? It's not the empty file. So I think we want to support package name, but not the empty file.
Okay, because on some tests it was like, I think empty files, but it was not expected to crash at this point. So yeah. So do you think we should enter the error here, or like is not the place for parsing errors kind of?
Maybe the error comes from the fact that there is not enough information at the stage of parsing, and I'm saying that because, for example, in Yagi, on another Go interpreter, in fact, if you have a complex package with several files, the first file you parse has not the complete set of informations, and so you are looking at objects with an incomplete definitions, and it's normal that fails, the parsing fails, and you need to go at least once to all the files, to have parsed all the files, to have at least all the informations, and then you can retry again to try to parse with all the information. So I wonder if this is a symptom of that, or if in that case if in fact in any case we should return an error and then decide what is the right strategy with this error. If it is an error because we have not yet enough information to decide, then okay, we retry later. Or if it is an error because of a wrong file or empty files or whatever, in fact, okay, we decide to fail. But in any case, I think you should return an error. Okay, so saying it loud, in fact, solves the problem. You should always return an error, and then we decide what we do with this particular error.
Okay, I will try to look at this to return an error so handle it. Thank you for your answer.
Just a big last thing. For the case of GNO.chess that Morgan was speaking about, I think something that was not clear at this moment, and maybe what he did is still what we should do today. Right now, we could just consider a realm is stateful and a package is stateless. In practice, a realm is an app, is stateful, but it can contain stateless subfolders. Or we can maybe have some stateless realms at some point. I don't see an advantage, but basically what I want to say is if GNO.chess wants to have all its dependencies not in p/ but in r/GNO.chess/my subfolder, it should work. We should not force everyone to write their non-stateful apps in p/. You can do it, no problem. We can also maybe at some point do it for you. Maybe at some point we can expect a tool that will release something based on the module name and automatically move your dependency into p/, I don't know, p/GNO.chess/ something. But we should also just target having monorepos where you have multiple libraries and you just work more closely to what you do with Go. So you don't have to mimic that. Basically, you have two different target repositories for the publish part. What I want to say is p/ should be designed for libraries that people can use, but they should also be designed as pure packages, ones with good documentation, testing, in practice, it's not just because it's a class that you should put it explicitly inside. We should consider the p/library as important as applications. An application as a README is designed for users. You expect to have some onboarding, some whatever makes sense for a user to discover the project. A p/ is the same. It's if you go on npm, you just don't have a zip file with the source code. You have a README file, you have downloads, you have I don't know, eventually support link, graph history. So basically, it's a service provided by the developer. They provide source code and they provide some context for you to choose to use this package. In the case of GnoShell, potentially some libraries are definitely something we want everyone to be able to reuse. Let's say, for instance, you will create I don't know, SecID. I don't know if SecID was used in GnoShell, but SecID is definitely something we expect to be a package. If, for instance, he wants to have a GnoShell board subpackage, maybe it can be in p/, or maybe we can just expect it to be a subfolder or the r/GnoShell to have a better code base, but without encouraging it to be a p/. So consider that we should also maybe start having more and more stateless applications in r/. Right now, I don't see any problem of doing it. And maybe later we'll say, okay, at some point, someone decides to extract something that was in r/ to become something in p/, and they will maybe do the missing packaging. If if r/GnoShell/board is initially not seen as something people will want to use. So I don't know, Morgan just writes it and he won't write documentation and so many unit tests because it's just something he's using by himself and he's satisfied with this approach. Maybe at some point someone can fork it, r/GnoShell/board becomes p/generic boards. And here it's basically the same code base or maybe slightly modified with some README, unit tests, etc. So yeah, just consider this also. I don't know for you, Norman, when you say in the same repo you have both realms and packages. Are you using packages because you expect them to be generic and reusable enough? Or are you just using packages because you want to split your code base to avoid having a single massive monolith realm? And just for in the future, once again, when we'll have bigger applications where in a monorepo you want to have p/ and r/, I don't see why we should basically release all the dependencies together. At some point, there are chances that your p/ will be finished earlier, and that you want to publish them. Maybe have some proof of usage and basically some skin in the game for the library, and then only use it directly for your realm. Sometimes it will just make sense to read everything at once, but it could also just make sense for you, territory team, to use the monorepo, but at some point to finish enough to archive the code base of this p/ and say, okay, it won't move anymore. It's minimalistic enough. It has a single function. It's tested. I can just release it and consider that I will use it myself as an external library, and anyone can use it the same way. So yeah, just don't consider p/ as a stateless place for code. p/ is a place for good packages where we want people to reuse the logic. If you don't want to spend too much time on a p/, maybe an option is just to not spend too much time on a p/ and include it as an internal or non-internal subpackage of your realm and let people decide to eventually fork it to finish it in terms of packaging.
All right, we're over time, so maybe just squeeze in one small quick question from OnBlock about the GRC721 implementation. So they shared the link. I'm dropping it in chat. It was Leon's PR that's still open for quite a while, and they wanted to know what the plans are for this particular PR. I can add that overall, we do want to see an implementation of GRC721 for the mainnet launch, but it's not a hard requirement. So if anybody is interested in picking this work up, Yeah, Manfred, go on.
Yeah, basically GRC20 is definitely mandatory to have at least one good. 721 is expected, but not as blocking as a 20. When I say one good, we should have something which is very good enough so that we expect people to basically copy and have something with a decent quality. In practice, we can still have better implementation or alternative implementations happening. So what we are looking for is for a good one. If Leon's one is appreciated by few people and some other people dislike some points, they can try to collaborate and making a better version, a better unified version. Or maybe we can also just expect to have one or two main implementations and maybe just expect them to share some interfaces. So the interfaces will become the way to unify the usage, and the implementation will be opinionated. And I don't know if it was merged, Morgan, the GRC21, but because we have the same need for GRC20 and there is a PR who is ready to be reviewed. No, it's not yet merged. 2983 is linked to what you just shared, Nemanja. And yeah, please, people, make reviews of GRC20, 721, give your opinion, give your feedback on how you would improve it by yourself, and then consider just trying to improve the existing ones or to fork them if you are different enough. And then it would just be a challenge of naming things in a way to basically help people to choose and to quickly see that basically they are not the same ones. If, for instance, we have min 721 and I don't know, DeFi 721, the prefix could be the thing that helps people to choose, okay, I just need a very simple NFT system to own just a proof of ownership, or no, I want something with the full marketplace experience, with the reward, with whatever makes sense for people doing NFT in terms of value. So yeah, just having various implementations with good names could be an alternative.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you all for coming. See you in 2 weeks, and we'll post a recording of this video tomorrow in case anybody missed anything. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.